Jennifer was 38 years old and had never walked into a clothing store without leaving in tears. Not on the outside. On the inside. That silent cry you swallow when the saleswoman looks you up and down and says, "We don't have that style in your size," with a smile that never reaches her eyes. That cry that gets stuck in your throat while you still say thank you, still smile back, still pretend everything is fine. She learned early that a fat woman couldn't take up too much space. Not physical space, not space in conversations, not space in photos. In school, the boys had nicknames for her. In college, her friends would invite her out but never to clubs, because clubs were places for short dresses and short dresses wouldn't look good on you, Jen, you know how it is. And she knew. She always knew. She had learned it so well that she didn't even need anyone to say it anymore. She said it to herself before anyone else could. She always wore black. Always smooth fabric. Always long sleeves in 40-degree summer heat because fat arms are arms that must be hidden. That's what the world had taught her. Never a neckline. Never a bold print. Never anything that would draw attention to the body she had. This body that seemed to be everyone's problem except her own, who just wanted to live. At work, she was the most competent person in the department. Everyone knew it. But when the promotions came, they went to Camila, who was thin and blonde and wore fitted blazers. The boss said Camila projected more confidence to clients. Jennifer went home that day, opened her wardrobe full of black clothes, and stood in front of it for about 20 minutes, unable to cry, unable to breathe properly, unable to understand what exactly she needed to fix about herself to finally be enough. That night, she called her sister. Roberta was 2 years younger and completely different from Jennifer. Not in body, not in history, but in the way she faced things. Roberta had been through the same comments, the same looks, and at some point had decided she was no longer going to shrink herself to fit what others wanted. Jennifer had never understood that. She always thought her sister was reckless, that she would get hurt, that the world doesn't forgive those who don't follow the rules. But that night she called because she had no one else. And Roberta answered on the second ring. Jennifer didn't say much. Just that she was tired. Roberta understood everything. The following Saturday, Roberta showed up at Jennifer's apartment door with 2 enormous bags and a coffee in hand. She said they were going out. Jennifer asked where. She said she'd find out when she got there. They went to a store Jennifer had never entered. It wasn't the kind of store she usually went to, the plus-size shops hidden at the back of the mall, no display window, no charm, as if selling clothes to a fat woman were something that needed to be done with shame. This store had a display window. It had color. It had mannequins with different body types. And it had a saleswoman named Simone who came over with a genuine smile and asked what Jennifer was looking for. Jennifer opened her mouth and nothing came out. She had never been asked that before. What are you looking for? As if what she wanted mattered. As if she were allowed to want anything beyond what fit and concealed and didn't bother anyone. Roberta placed her hand on her sister's shoulder and answered for her. She said Jennifer was going to a party the following month and wanted to feel beautiful. Not put together. Not presentable. Beautiful. In her own way. Simone looked at Jennifer with an attentiveness she wasn't used to receiving and began asking questions. What color do you like? Do you prefer lighter or more structured fabric? Do you like prints? Is there any part of your body you like to highlight? That last question stopped Jennifer mid-thought. A part of her body she liked to highlight. She had spent her entire life thinking about hiding. She had never stopped to think about what she wanted to show. It was a simple question, and it had shifted something inside her, in a place she hadn't even known existed. She thought, really thought, and said, her voice slightly hesitant, that she liked her eyes, and her hands, and that she thought her neckline was beautiful, though she had never let anyone see it. Simone smiled and went to find some clothes. What followed was an afternoon Jennifer would carry with her forever. Not because it was magical, not because everything became perfect, not because she walked out transformed into a new version of herself the way it happens in movies. It was different. It was her, standing in front of the fitting room mirror in an emerald green dress made of light fabric with a neckline that showed the décolletage she had said she found beautiful. And she stood there looking at herself. And for the first time in many years, she didn't look for the flaws first. She looked at her neckline, then at her eyes, which were shining in a way she hadn't expected. Then at the dress, which had a large, colorful floral print, completely different from everything she wore, and which wasn't trying to hide anything. It was simply existing over her body as if it were exactly where it belonged. She was quiet for a while. Then she called Roberta. Her sister walked into the fitting room, looked at her, and started crying first. Said nothing. Just cried. And then Jennifer cried too. But this crying was different from all the ones she had swallowed throughout her life. This one came out clean. She bought the green dress. She also bought an orange short-sleeved blouse that let her arms show, and a pair of large gold earrings she found on a shelf near the register that Roberta said were made for her. Party was 3 weeks later. Jennifer stood in front of the mirror for 40 minutes before leaving the house. Not adjusting, not hiding, not trying to fix anything. Just looking. Getting her eyes used to the version of herself standing there, in green with the gold earrings swaying, with her neckline showing, with her arms bare in the December heat. She thought about giving up about 3 times. Changed her shoes twice. Stood at her apartment door for 2 minutes before she could bring herself to open it. But she opened it. The party, things weren't perfect. A woman made a comment that stung. A look from someone in the corner did too. The world hadn't changed with a green dress. She knew that. But something in her had changed. When the woman made the comment, Jennifer didn't lower her head. Didn't smile back pretending she hadn't heard. She looked that woman in the eyes, took a deep breath, and went to get a glass of juice because she was thirsty and because she had just as much right to be there as anyone else in that room. At the end of the night, a girl of about 16 came up to her. She was visibly uncomfortable in her own body, tugging her dress down, arms crossed in front of her chest like a shield. She looked at Jennifer and said she thought her dress was really beautiful. Jennifer looked at that girl and saw herself. 20 years ago, learning to become invisible. She smiled genuinely and said thank you. Said she had bought it scared but that it had been worth it. The girl asked if she was ever afraid of people staring. Jennifer thought for a second and answered that yes, she still was. That she probably always would be, a little. But that she had decided fear was no longer going to choose her clothes for her. The girl went quiet. Then she uncrossed her arms. Just that. But Jennifer felt it. She went home that night with aching feet and her earrings in her hand and her heart in a state she didn't quite know how to name. It wasn't complete happiness. It wasn't resolution. It was something closer to a beginning. She opened her wardrobe when she arrived. Looked at the black clothes lined up in a row. She didn't throw them out, didn't tear them up, didn't make any dramatic gesture. She simply placed the green dress at the front of everything and went to sleep. The next morning she woke up, had coffee, and before heading to work passed by the mirror. She stopped. Looked at herself. Not for long, not with judgment, just one honest second. And kept going. It wasn't the end of anything. It was just her, finally, beginning to choose herself.